Okay, boys and girls, please get out your science books and turn to page 352. We're going to go over fossils again. Fossils tell us much about the past. They tell us about organisms that once lived on Earth. They tell us about the environment in which the organisms lived. Fossils can even tell us how some organisms have changed over time. It says to choose an organism that lives on Earth today and describe how it might become a future fossil. How long do you think the process will take? A leaf that's buried quickly in sediment after it dies could become a future fossil. So not everything's going to become a fossil. It has to make sure that it's been buried. And it takes thousands to millions of years. That sediment has to turn into rock. And then that imprint of the leaf is what's left over. So let's look at these. Identify the object that was fossilized. What does this look like? What does that look like? This looks just like a shell. And this looks like a leaf. Okay, so once we know that, we can start making inferences. If this is a shell, this must be an ocean animal, or it must have been found near someplace where there was water. This must have been found someplace where there used to be a forest. Okay, so what evidence does each fossil provide? Again, so shells tell me it formed under water. The leaf is a dry environment like the forest. Patterns in nature repeat over time. Some patterns repeat quickly, others take a long time. The same processes that formed the fossils we find today are changing more organisms remains into fossils. So again, scientists and paleontologists find this helpful to see the fossil, and they can make inferences about how Earth has changed. I think there was a mystery dug how there was an ocean animal fossil found by Illinois. So there must have been water there a long, long time ago. This, guys, you don't have to do the language arts, language smarts or whatever to research this online. You can, you don't have to do that. So, okay. So there's many different types of fossils. Some are the actual remains, like the bones and the teeth. Some are just shapes that were preserved in the rock. Some fossils are pieces of just once living things. Others are the whole entire thing. So this first one, these shell impressions in the rock are one type of fossil. Another type of fossil formed when the impressions were slowly filled with minerals. So that's one type, the imprint, the impressions of it. There's another type. Some fossils, like this whole mammoth, formed when an organism got trapped in water and froze and became ice. This fossil is more than 40,000 years old. There's another type of fossil. It's petrified wood. It was formed when the wood in the plant was replaced with very hard materials over time. Petro means rock. So it's going to be really, really heavy. This fossil formed when all the moisture of the leaf was pressed out, leaving only a thin coating of carbon behind. This fossil, organisms can get trapped in tree sap and die. As the sap hardens, the organisms become fossilized in sap, which is called amber. I know that was at the Field Museum, and I think at the SciTech too, we saw some of this. These footprints were formed in soft mud, turned them to rock. Footprints are trace fossils, so it's another type of fossil, a trace fossil. It records the activities of a once living organism. So trace fossils are footprints or things like poop that tells you the activities of the organisms. Fossils are often the hard parts of once living things, but an organism's soft parts can also be preserved. Which materials can preserve them? Ice, like that mammoth, and amber, like this insect. Hold on, honey. Hold on. I don't know. Go sit down. Why do you think fossilized insects are often found preserved in amber? Well, many types of insects live in and around trees, and that's where the amber was found, is from that tree sap. Some fossils look like organisms that live on Earth today. Others revealed extinct organisms. They're no longer found on Earth. We're going to read, and it says to research online. We're just going to do it together and write yes or no if they're alive today. So this is dinosaur head. No, that's not alive today. The picture shows what the animal might have looked like. So is it alive today? No, they're all extinct. This fossil shell is evidence of an organism that once lived on Earth. The picture shows what the animal might have looked like. Is it alive today? Well, look, it's like a little snail. Yes, we see those still. So yes. This fossil is part of an ocean creature called a blastoid. It lived long ago and was anchored to the sea floor like a stem by a stem-like column. The picture shows what it might have looked like. Cool. So is it alive today? Nope. It lived long ago. Oops. Okay, boys and girls. So I want you to write down 3 things you learned today. So try to think the different type of fossils. There's trace fossils. It tells the activities an animal did. There's impressions of the fossils, the imprints that cast, or the cast, the hard parts of the fossils.